A veteran 911 operator takes a life-altering call from a teenage girl who has just been abducted. Welcome back to Movies Explained. Today's film is a crime thriller from 2014 titled, The Call. The movie begins in the 911 emergency operator headquarters in Los Angeles. In the bustling room, one of the operators named Jordan Turner is receiving multiple emergency calls during her shift. She jokes around with her coworker Flora as two police officers, including her boyfriend Paul, pay her a visit. The couple takes a break outside, and Jordan invites Paul to spend the night at her house. When Jordan returns from her break, she receives a call from a young woman who's claiming that an intruder is trying to break into her house. Her name is Leah, and she is all alone at home when the intruder manages to enter. Jordan immediately sends some police officers to the location that she gets from the phone's GPS ping. While waiting for the cops to arrive, Jordan instructs Leah to hide and lock herself in a room. Leah runs upstairs, while Jordan formulates a plan to deceive the intruder, who is also climbing up the stairs. He's checking the rooms when he notices a window slightly ajar and Leah's shoes lying on the ground beneath it. He assumes she has run away and runs downstairs to pursue her, when in fact, Leah is hiding under the bed. Her call abruptly terminates, and in a panic, Jordan decides to call Leah back, whose ringtone alerts the intruder to Leah's hiding location. He comes back to the room and drags her from under the bed while taking her phone. Hearing the man's ragged breath, Jordan warns him to surrender and not hurt the girl since the cops will arrive there soon. However, the intruder states that it has been done, before Jordan hears Leah scream as she is beaten, at which point the call is terminated. Jordan rushes to the quiet room to decompress after being in an intensely emotional situation. Maddie, her supervisor, enters the room and calmly asks why Jordan redialed Leah's phone because the ring would reveal her location. However, Jordan is still in a panic and just keeps repeating that she wasn't thinking before frantically leaving the room. She is so shaken by the call that she has a nightmare that night and doesn't wake up until Paul knocks on her door to see how she is. The next day, Jordan returns to the office still somewhat nervous about continuing her work. She initially panics when she hears the caller screaming, but she calms down when she realizes that the caller's situation is not as bad as she feared. However, she stops working when she sees the news about the police finding and recovering Leah's dead body from a field in Lancaster. Jordan goes to the balcony for fresh air before Paul joins her for support. She quotes her father, who was also a member of the LAPD, saying that being a cop means being the difference between someone living or someone dying that day. Fast forward to 6 months later, Jordan is taking some anti-anxiety medication to prepare for work. She continues to work at the 911 emergency center, but is now a trainer responsible for teaching new recruits. She gives them pointers on what to expect and shows them around the office. Meanwhile, in another part of Los Angeles, Autumn and Casey, two teenage girls, are hanging out at the mall. Autumn rushes out because she is late to pick up her brother, leaving Casey alone. As Casey heads out, she notices that Autumn forgot her second phone. As she calls her mother while making her way through the parking lot, a car suddenly reverses, almost running into her. She curses at the driver and picks up her now broken phone before the driver suddenly grabs her from behind and drugs her using chloroform. Back at the 911 headquarters, Jordan is showing the new recruits how they will be working by introducing them to a recently hired operator. As they converse, the operator receives a call, which turns out to be from Casey, who has regained consciousness in the trunk of the car and dialed 911 using Autumn's spare phone. Casey is panicking and unable to communicate clearly with the operator, who begins to panic and asks Jordan for advice. Jordan assumes the operator's seat and begins speaking with Casey in an effort to first calm her down. However, because her phone is a prepaid phone, Jordan has no GPS location to dispatch the police to. With Maddie's encouragement, Jordan is able to get Casey to calm down and describe the situation and location from which she was abducted. Jordan sends the car and the kidnapper's description to all patrolling officers after receiving basic information about Casey's kidnapper, which is also heard by Pete, who is glad that she is back in action. Meanwhile, Maddie is getting her staff to prepare the paperwork needed to get a trace on Casey's phone. After determining that Casey is being driven down the freeway, Jordan instructs her on how to kick out the tail lights from inside the trunk. Casey succeeds, and Jordan instructs her to stick her hand out and wave to attract the attention of other drivers. Jordan informs her co-workers about Casey's situation, and one of them receives a 911 call from a driver who notices Casey's hand. They are able to determine which highway Casey is on and the license plate number, but it appears that he has switched license plates, so they are unable to determine his identity. The calling driver tries to get a better look at the kidnapper, despite the operator's warning. This makes the man suspicious, and he decides to exit the freeway abruptly, complicating the police's search even further. Jordan instructs Casey to search the trunk for anything useful, now that they are no longer on the freeway. Casey finds cans of paint and a screwdriver, but when she discovers a shovel, she begins to panic because she believes her abductor is planning on using it to bury her body. Jordan manages to calm her down by promising that they will watch Casey's favorite movie Bridesmaids when this is all over. Jordan instructs her to open the cans of paint in the trunk and pour them out of the hole in order to create a paint trail that will hopefully aid the police in their search. However, when the kidnapper comes to a stop at a red light, another driver notices paint leaking from his trunk, alerting the kidnapper that something is wrong. He flees to a secluded area and threatens Casey, who manages to conceal the phone. The driver from earlier then parks nearby, apparently suspicious of the kidnapper's erratic behavior. After failing to convince the guy, the kidnapper decides to attack him and knock him out with a shovel before moving Casey to the guy's car. Soon after, Pete and his partner discover the kidnapper's original car as well as the blood from his earlier fight with the driver. He also finds a smashed bottle of chloroform and has an idea to use it to find the kidnapper's fingerprint. Casey continues her call with Jordan, saying that she changed cars and that the driver is passed out beside her. As she describes the current vehicle, the driver suddenly wakes up and starts screaming, which is heard by the kidnapper. The kidnapper stops, opens the trunk, and kills the driver by stabbing him with a screwdriver. The driver's body is put in the trunk once more, causing Casey to panic and blame herself for his death. Jordan calms her down once more and tells her to get the driver's ID card so they can identify his car. The kidnapper notices he's running low on gas. He pulls over at a gas station, and Casey realizes that her phone's battery is running low, but she has an idea. She climbs through the back seat and tries to get the attention of the clerk while the kidnapper is distracted by the gas pump. The clerk notices Casey and threatens the kidnapper with his knife, ordering him to open the car. However, the kidnapper disables the clerk by spraying him with gas and setting him on fire. Another failed attempt for Casey to get saved leads to her being knocked unconscious by the kidnapper. Jordan is becoming increasingly concerned as she loses contact with Casey and sees no sign of the car. Fortunately, they are able to identify the kidnapper because the fingerprint they discovered on the bottle matches a man by the name of Michael Foster. Paul and his partner rush to Michael's house to look for leads and question his clueless wife about her husband's whereabouts. Meanwhile, Michael arrives at his destination and picks Casey up from the trunk. He finds the phone that's still connected to the police and realizes that he's in trouble. Jordan begins speaking to him, addressing him by his full name and informing him that the cops are currently at his home with his family. This freaks Michael out, but when Jordan suggests for him to surrender himself and not hurt Casey, he says that it's already done before disconnecting the call. Jordan realizes upon hearing this, that Michael is the same person who kidnapped and murdered Leah 6 months ago. She immediately informs Paul that the call has disconnected but the last GPS ping is in Santa Clarita Hills. In Michael's office, Paul suspects the kidnapping might be connected to Michael's late sister because of the resemblance between her and Casey. He grabs an old photograph and asks Michael's wife where the house in it is located, to which she replies that it is in Santa Clarita Hills. Jordan traces the address using the license plate in the picture, before warning Paul that Michael is also Leah's murderer. The police raid the house but find nothing related to the kidnapping inside. Meanwhile, it seems like Michael has taken Casey into an underground bunker where he prepares her for some kind of medical procedure. He strips her and ties her up to a chair, but Casey manages to free her arms and sprays Michael with hairspray before running away. She is unable to escape and Michael eventually catches her again. Maddie urges Jordan to go home and rest, stating that she has done all she can to assist Casey and that it is now up to the police. Jordan, however, remains in the call center until late at night, listening to the background noise of Casey's final call. Paul calls her as the police search each passing car around the area, assuring her that they'll find Casey alive. Jordan still can't put her mind at ease and decides to drive to the old house herself. Inside, she finds old pictures of Michael and his sister that show her dying of cancer around Casey's age. Feeling defeated as she can't find more clues, Jordan leaves the house but hears a familiar sound from the yard. It's the sound of metal clanging against a flagpole, precisely like the background noise she heard earlier. She starts to scour the area and finds Casey's broken phone. She also finds a hatch leading underground. She drops her phone attempting to report her findings and decides to jump in without any backup. As she searches the bunker, she finds Michael busy preparing something. When she notices Michael heading towards her, she hides in the room where Casey was earlier and discovers a gruesome scene just before Michael enters. Jordan observes Michael caressing what appears to be a blonde wig resembling his sister's hair from behind an open closet door. There's still blood around its edges, indicating that the hair has been taken from the scalp of one of his victims. He begins to exhibit disturbing behavior, and when he comes across something that irritates him, he throws the hair into a mini fridge that is already full of other hair, indicating that he has killed more girls than just Leah. Michael returns to Casey, who he has prepared for the surgical removal of her scalp. She begs for him to just kill her, but he says that he can't stop. Just as he starts cutting into Casey's scalp, Jordan hits him in the head with a mannequin head until he passes out. She then uses a scalpel to cut Casey's restraints, but Michael is already awake and starts to fight with her. He gains the upper hand, drowning Jordan in a tub of water before Casey slices his face with a knife. The women run to escape the underground shelter with Michael on their tail until Casey stabs his back with surgical scissors once he's outside. However, Michael seems somewhat unfazed as he pulls out the scissors from his back and plans to use it against Casey. Jordan kicks him towards the hatch, followed by Casey, which causes him to fall unconscious at the bottom of the bunker. Finally feeling safe, Jordan intends to call for backup, but Casey prevents her, appearing to have another plan. When Michael finally wakes up, he is now chained and bound to the surgical seat inside the bunker. The women do not intend to call the police. They decide to leave him chained to his chair and make him suffer for his crimes. They plan to tell the police that Casey had escaped and Jordan found her in the woods. Thanks for watching. Like and subscribe for more videos.